board of directors. I also sit on the subcommittee that put together this 5-week summit. And on behalf of all of us, please uh, uh, have a fun day today. This is going to be a great session with Deb Brown, but we can't thank you enough for your participation. We had hoped to do this in person in 2020. COVID-19 took that over. We thought 21 was probably going to work, and we found out that wasn't quite time right either. So we've gone to the virtual summit. We started last Wednesday with our housing session. A great turnout. We had 117 people that attended that session, and the feedback that we've received has been outstanding. So we thank you if you were at our session last week, and we're looking forward to having you learn a lot today with Deb on today's session of becoming a idea-friendly town. Want to say a big thank you out to my committee. We've spent a lot of time together over the last few months putting this together. And it was basically off the survey that we'd sent out a while ago that the rural partners wanted feedback from all of you on what you thought were important topics and issues that were affecting rural Wisconsin, not just based on what COVID has done, but overall. And I think we did a great job putting together this 5-week summit that covers a lot of those areas that you had concerns about, you wanted to learn more about, and how we might be able to help you recover and grow your rural areas across the entire state of Wisconsin. So I want to say a big thanks to Todd and Rebecca and Mary Ann for all their time and effort. Todd's driving the bus today, like usual. And if you have questions, please use the chat room. We want you to be very engaged today, and Deb's going to scold you, I think, if you don't. So, so again, thanks to my committee for all their great support. Also, I want to give a thanks to Frederica too with Wisconsin Public Television. They have been a great supporter of what we've done with our summit in the past, and they're with us again this year. But last Friday, I was honored to be on her show to talk about the first week summit about housing and kind of preview what's going to be coming up over these next 4 sessions. And it was a great interview. And if you want to see it, it's located on the WisconsinRuralPartners.org website under the summit agenda. And thanks to Frederica for that. And she had a lot of great comments. She had watched the summit. She said we had a lot of information, and I think we gave them some fodder for future issues that they want to take on their show. So thanks to PBS for that. Also, just a few things on etiquette for today. We are recording these sessions. We hope to get this recording up on the website probably by the weekend like we did this past week. The first session is already up online. You can go to our website under the Rural Summit, and it's tagged for its own web page. So it not only includes the video, but it also has all the presentations that the speakers gave last week that you can go on there and click and watch those presentations again as well while you're watching the video. So we are recording again today. Make sure that you put your questions, comments. As I said, we're going to be pushing you a lot today to get involved in the chat room, because the second hour is going to be involving a lot of what you put in the chat room for topics, thoughts, ideas, concepts. We really want you to engage. You can do it to everyone. You can send things out specifically to people, and we'll be monitoring as well, and especially the question and answer session. So if you have questions, make sure you use that chat room as much as you can. And we want to say a thank you to our sponsors as well for all their great support. And we're going to be hearing from some of our gold sponsors throughout this program, and we're recognizing the sponsors as well through our billboard screens. But I want to remind you, this is kind of like the last hurrah. The Top Rural Development Initiative nominations are due 3 days from now. I think we'll be okay if you just get them to us by Monday. Sandy, I don't think there'll be a problem with that. We will give you throughout the weekend to get your presentations into us for your nominations. And as you can tell, there's a lot of different categories that you can apply under, from agriculture to community development, business, education, health, energy, the environment, philanthropy, tourism. And because of what we've all gone through over this past year and a half, community resiliency has also been added to a category, because you know, a lot of people have had to collaborate together as a region. They just don't have the resources to do it alone. So partnering and making it more of a regional effort is needed, and and we want to recognize community resiliency too for being able to take on what's been dealt them and be able to succeed on getting back on track. And if you want to know, I'll give you a heads up on what makes a winning nomination. It could be collaborative decision making, widespread and long-term positive impacts. It also could be just innovation. Our committee that will review all these nominations, look at all things, and we really can't encourage you enough to want to get your nomination. And we've had some tremendous rural development initiative winners in the past, and we know we've got some great programs that are out this past year despite COVID, and we sure want to give you an opportunity to be recognized for your efforts. So please get those nominations in by Monday so we can move forward on that. And this dovetails into our week 5 session, which we'll be highlighting some of those rural development initiative winners, not just what they've done lately, but how things have really grown since they won their award in these past few years. So please get your nominations in. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, our partnership. We are always looking for partners. This isn't a sponsorship of Rural Partners. This is a partnership. It goes both ways. So we want to help you as much as you want to help us grow. And we hope that you look at our partnership levels, and we will talk to you more about that if you want more details. But our partners are what makes Rural Partners go, and we want to help you as much to get the word out. No sense duplicating efforts. Let's work together as a team and see all the great things we can do for rural communities and areas throughout the state of Wisconsin. Also, the Road to Rural Recovery, just a reminder that that is on our website. It's a directory of 35 different agencies, companies, resources. It's basically a one-stop shop. So when you're looking for programs and assistance for, due to the COVID virus issues, we've got a one-stop place for you to go and get all those different programs instead of have to Google search and try to find them on your own. So please use our Road to Rural Recovery resources on our website as well. And we want your feedback. We did send a survey out for last Wednesday's session, and you can still fill that survey out until tomorrow. And the link for that survey will be in the chat room. So make sure you just click on that. 4 simple questions for you to answer. It'll take you about 3 minutes to do. And we just want your feedback, because we use this not only for future topics, but also some of the things that we want to do better, or things that you might give us tips on that we never thought of. We want your feedback. So please give us feedback for session 1. And then, of course, look for the survey for session 2 that'll be coming out probably tomorrow. And just fill it out, very short, sweet, to the point, but it does help us a lot with what we want to do. And we are seriously considering doing a fall summit. And so if we do that, we'll use a lot of your input. Right now, I'd like to introduce some of the people that have been involved with Rural Partners and are true leaders in our group. And I want to start off by introducing the president of the Wisconsin Rural Partners Board of Directors. She's a former mayor of the city of Evansville, and has really done a great job leading us through all these tough times with COVID and building this organization up. So with that, Sandy, take it away.
Thanks, Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second session. I'm particularly interested as a retired mayor in the session today and what might come from it. We extend special thanks to UW Extension for serving as our online host for the summit. And I also commend our Summit Planning Committee for their hard work in putting this together. We had to shift our plans because of the pandemic, and I think this is working out great. Again, a final push for our annual Top Rural Development Initiative recognition. We have seen such great different projects, and if you have one in your community, it's not at all difficult to fill out that nomination, and the information is on our website and in the chat box. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Sandy. We also want to recognize our newest member of our board of directors. A lot of you knew Carol Wituski. Carol was a former president of Rural Partners. She's been involved with USDA for many years. Matter of fact, she's moved up in USDA now that she's more of a regional representative. So she's not been able to spend as much time with us, and we're kind of bummed about that. But we understand, her role and how busy she is. But luckily, we've got a great replacement for her, and I thought it'd be a nice time to introduce Jessica Mansell, the Public Information Coordinator for USDA, as our official liaison from USDA on our Rural Partners Board. So Jessica, you want to greet the group?
Sure. Thank you so much, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Mansell, as Steve mentioned, and I'm really happy to take over under Carol's wings. She really made some big shoes to fill, but USDA Rural Development feels that Wisconsin Rural Partners is a very important collaborator in bringing rural prosperity to our communities. So I just wanted to quick let you guys know that we have over 40 programs, and I know we've worked with a lot of you in the field there, whether it's towns, villages, our bankers, and all of our other community collaborators. But we're all here to just help expand our economic opportunities, create jobs, and improve the quality of life for our rural Wisconsinites. We do infrastructure improvements, business development, housing, community facilities, and much more. So we are just here to help and provide anything value added that we can to all of you out there. So thanks, Steve.
Thanks a lot, Jessica, and welcome to the board. Glad to have you with us. So also I want to introduce our gold sponsors that have really done a great job for us. As they stayed with us through 2020 when we hope to have our conference and have stayed with us now through 2021. And representing the WEC Energy Group, please welcome Kelly.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I don't have video today. I'm out on site, so all you get is my photo. I do represent WEC Energy Group, or better known as Wisconsin Public Service, and We Energies. It's our honor to support the 2021 Wisconsin Rural Partnership Summit, and I hope you all enjoy today's session with Deb Brown. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Kelly. I know you got a busy schedule, but I'm glad you took time to be with us. And thanks to WC Energy Group for all your support. The next gold sponsor that I'd like to introduce is Marshfield Clinic Health System. They have been a tremendous support of Wisconsin Rural Partners this past year, and I know we've got a great future together. Please welcome Jeff Tucker, the VP of Marshfield Clinic Health System Business Development and Care Innovation. Jeff?
Oh, thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for the introduction, and we are very proud to partner with Wisconsin Rural Partners on rural health initiatives. I went to the session that Wisconsin Rural Partners had in person in, I think that was Rice Lake, wasn't it?
Yes.
2 years ago, and it was a great session. I'm glad that you continued the series. We are very pleased to partner with you. We are a large rural health system with clinics in rural communities throughout the northern half of Wisconsin, and we see our future intricately tied in the future of rural Wisconsin. And again, we're pleased to partner with you. So we hope you enjoy today's program. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jeff, and thanks to Marshfield Clinic for all your great support. Well, now it's time to introduce the star of the show today. I've known Deb for a few years now. She spoke at my economic development conference in Monroe County at one time, and I think she still owns the record for the highest marks from comments from the attendees there. But we've wanted Deb to be our keynote speaker at our 2020 summit. We didn't make that work, but she's been great to work with, and now she's going to be doing 2 of our 5 sessions this week and then 2 weeks from now as well. But Deb is a co-founder of Savior.town, and she brings together a lifetime of diverse experiences in towns, not only big but small. She loves to tell stories and share real-world examples of how people are changing their small towns for the better. And Deb has this ability to listen. She finds the truths in what is working and what isn't, and she's not afraid to share those ideas for the future along with many small town examples. Deb is a relentless optimist, believe me, and knows how to build possibility in your small town. And she inspires you to take small steps towards a brighter future for your community and have action, not just talk. I'm sure you're going to leave this summit with an ideas, at least 1 or 2, if not many, and some action items to take back to your rural towns and put into place. So I'm really happy to introduce today's session speaker. Please welcome Deb Brown. Deb?
Hi. All right. I'm going to share my screen so we can get going here. like a magic act, making all my fingers work to do this well. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we're going to use the idea-friendly method, and you see it on the screen in front of you, to help you shape a better future for your community, even as we face incredible changes in our society all around us. Get your pen and paper ready because you're going to want to take notes. And several times, I'm going to give you a prompt of something I want you to write down because we're going to work through some of it in the workshop part. And of course, I'll pause to give you a moment to take down a quick note. All the changes we've been through recently has torn at the fabric of our communities. Our lives, our businesses, our communities have been disrupted again and again. We've been living with a lot more uncertainty for months and months now, and we're all tired, eager to get back to those community activities we love, and really just a good hug and deeply longing for meaningful connections. So deep down, we know that our actions play a role in what our local communities become next. We're each trying to do something that matters for ourselves and our neighbors. However, it's exhausting trying to do the things that build our communities in the same old way we have been when the world is changing so fast around us. Our traditional organizations are full of entrenched leaders. You know it, hierarchy, formality, meetings, planning, bureaucracy, silos, and we impose these crushing formalities on any new person, new idea, or even a hint of change. And we've been doing this for a long time. A couple of years ago, a group of teens were working to make their hometown of Miller, South Dakota, a better place. And like a lot of young people, ask them what there is to do, and they'll tell you there's nothing to do here. The teens came up with the idea of a movie theater, a real indoor movie theater. Now there's 1,400 people in Miller. A young woman named Abby started to take the lead on the project. And she presented this idea to a formal meeting in her community. And one of the adults said to her in front of everyone that the idea is too big. It's going to fail. And Abby shouldn't even try. I'd like you to be shocked by this, but I'm sure you're not, because people have done this to you too, haven't they? Did the adult hate her? Secretly fear she would succeed and they should stop her? No. They wanted to protect her from failure, from the risk of looking bad. And that's the reason for all those silos, that bureaucracy, all those plans. Think they're helping you avoid failure. And you'll hear it in their words. We tried that once. That's not how we do things here. Slow down, let us ask more questions. We need more time to think it over. What they're worried about is making mistakes, the risk of failure, and the hard choices around the pandemic have only made these decisions feel even riskier. You may be tempted to agree with the slow down approach, but it's a trap. It's a trap because we're terrible at judging the risk of failure. Author Margie Worrell says that using the latest brain imaging technologies, researchers have been able to prove that we are far less likely to fail than we think, and that we deny the risk of sticking with the status quo. And the real choice we have to make isn't between how things are right now, where we're safe, and the risk of change, which is scary. The real choice is between the change that we make when we decide to act and the change that happens to us when we fail to act. While we are moving slowly, talking things through over and over, asking more questions before we do anything, the world is changing all around us. If we learned anything from the past year, it's that the world really is changing around us and changing fast. Now, rural people are resilient, and we've survived before. Rural communities, rural people, we know how to survive. Our communities have endured boom and bust cycles, commodity crashes, mill and factory closings, losing our economic reason for existing. We've lived through epidemics and environmental disasters, and we've reinvented ourselves before. And right now, we are already reinventing the way we do things in our communities. Here's a real world example from Becky's hometown of Alva, Oklahoma, about 5,000 people. When a group of mothers decided their old 1950s era playground equipment that you're looking at here at the city park was out of date and unsafe, they just started to work on getting new safe, fun equipment. They texted, they messaged, the group chatted. They found out what would work here, where to get it. They started raising money. They built groups online. They reached out over and over to the whole community, and they got it done. And they never bothered to elect officers until years later. The moms just did it using the communication tools we all work with every day. And you've seen examples like this happen. Some of them work, some of them don't. That is new playground equipment in that park now. What that group of moms didn't know was they were using the idea-friendly method. So you start with your big goal for your community, the thing that you feel will improve that quality of life. And theirs was kids playing safely together. You use that goal to gather your crowd. Join us. And you turn that crowd into a powerful network by building connections. You take that powerful network and begin taking small steps. Now, they didn't start with millions of dollars for new equipment. They started with the safety of the old equipment. And they didn't start with a full rehab of the old equipment. They just started by fixing the most dangerous sharp edges. The claim that moms were staking was to have a community gathering playground that was safe and fun for kids of all abilities to play together. And that's why they called their group the Alva Friends of Play. Now get your pencil out. What is the claim you want to stake on your town? What do you wish most for your community? Think about how you'd finish these two sentences, or at least one of them. If our town had what? Or if our town was what? I want you to write that down before we go any further. One word or one sentence. And feel free to put yours in the chat box. We like to see what they are. This is where I need that Jeopardy music, Steve. Give people a chance to write. All right, let's continue. You gather your crowd with a big idea, one that excites people and makes them feel like they can play a role in it. So it doesn't have to be big crowds in person. It can be online, or it can be small groups, and it can be happening at different times. Now, what would be the old way to gather a crowd to work on any project? Good Lord, you assign people to committees. A real Chamber of Commerce actually sent out this email to their members. The Chamber of Commerce is planning for our annual programs. Please see attached and let us know which committees you are willing to serve on. Thank you for your support. And I know you've all gotten emails like that too, haven't you? Well, the new way is to plant a flag. That's how you gather your crowd. Plant a flag people can be drawn to. The State and Sublimity Chamber of Commerce in Oregon killed off their committees. Imagine. They gather people only when needed around their big goal. Elena Turpin told us they spend more time telling people how they make a difference in the community. They plant a flag. And she said, then your organization becomes a movement that people can get behind, not just another volunteer opportunity. And there's a real difference between, please see attached for volunteer opportunities, and becoming a movement that people can get behind. And that difference is idea friendly. You plant a flag because there are people out there who want to join in, but they've been beaten down by the negativity, just like you have. They need someone to start something idea friendly. Author Clay Shirky says the number of people who are willing to start something is smaller, much smaller than the number of people who are willing to contribute once someone else starts something. Jason Roberts of the Better Block Project said that's always what happens when they choose to improve just one street in a neighborhood. They plant the flag and people come out of the woodwork to join in. They were there all the time waiting, just waiting for someone to get things started. More importantly, they're waiting for someone to start it in a new way. Now, we won't come out of the woodwork for a typical old way opportunity because, we've been burned by those crushing formalities. You plant your flag to collect the people excited enough to take action in this new way. People who are willing to pitch in, even in small ways, are much more valuable than any number of people who are just serving because it was pinned on them. Now, of course, not everyone will agree or be attracted to your big idea or the flag you plant. And that's okay. They were never going to help you anyway. You can't lose people who were never yours. Let me tell you a story. The town of Pullman, Washington had a dirty sidewalk problem. Every time it rains, dirt and leaves and stuff out of the streets and just turned on to their sidewalks. Pretty messy. At a meeting, they talked about doing another cleanup day, a meeting of the professionals in town. No one came to that flag. No one was really very excited about another cleanup day. Then Willow, a business owner, put up her hand and said, "I'll clean my own sidewalk." And she did. But how do you get from one person cleaning their own sidewalk to a crowd of people cleaning up downtown on an ongoing basis so that we don't need to keep scheduling cleanup days we don't like? Well, you have to start by cleaning your own sidewalk. Then take pictures, put it on social media, hashtag it, and ask everyone to join in. Every time you clean your sidewalk, keep posting it and hashtagging it. Tag some other people too. Make a big deal out of how anyone can do this to their own sidewalk. And soon enough, somebody's going to join you, maybe a lot of someone's. And it worked there. Other merchants followed her lead. They all started sweeping their sidewalks on Wednesdays. Then the city joined in. Now they send their street sweeper around early on Thursday mornings. And that's how you gather your crowd. You plant your flag and be conspicuous doing things in public and invite others to join in and make it easy to join in. Now, this is your best way to attract those people who were initially resistant. If Willow had tried to convince everyone in that meeting to change their minds, forget doing a cleanup day, sweep their own sidewalks, and convince the city to change their street sweeper work schedule, you know what would have happened. They would have all resisted. But Willow didn't try to change their minds. Instead, Willow attracted them by planting her own flag and taking her own action and making it easy to join in. So instead of obsessing about changing other people, focus on taking your own actions. Become a movement people can get behind. We know that your neighbors aren't all equally motivated to work on any project or idea. So we have to give them small but meaningful ways to get involved. Now you see this curved shape? This is the power law of how involved people will be in any project. You can draw that in your notes if you like. Don't forget the dotted line. There are a few people like you who are super excited and it tapers off from there. That dotted line is where the old formal organizations end. Now, the people to the left of the line, they're on the committee, but most people are outside the formal organization, down on the long tail, just interested in the idea with really low motivation. They don't contribute enough to be worth including in the old way hierarchy. Well, let's flip this model over. The FOG behavioral model tells us that these people can contribute too. We just have to make the size of the step we want them to take really small so it matches their level of motivation. Because we can give people small but meaningful ways to participate using all the new tools, all the online stuff. And with your online groups, an activity like clicking like or share matters too. They don't have to be cut off anymore, and their contributions really add up. So what would it look like if you had your crowd together during the gathering your crowd of your big idea? What's your own clean your own sidewalk day? Look at that big idea that you wrote down and pick up your pen and write down now, who's your crowd? Who would be interested in this with you? And they can be a small interest or a big interest. Pretend you're listening to Jeopardy music because I want to give you time to write it down, and feel free to share it in the chat box as well. Okay, you gathered your crowd with a big idea. Now you're going to turn that crowd into a powerful network by building connections. And here's a specific example. In Idaho, economic developer Jessica, she said she's dying to get a microbrewery in her town. And I think she's the only town in Idaho that doesn't already have one. Anyway, she's been going around telling everyone she meets, you should open a microbrewery. And so far that hasn't worked because it's not the same as building connections. Now, what would be the old way to get a microbrewery? Jessica could bring it up at a meeting of her economic development board. They could refer it to the subcommittee, order a feasibility study, and eventually add it to their strategic plan. Then they would call Jessica to watch the list of companies wanting to relocate to see if a microbrewery comes up. Or they could start secret negotiations with a nearby microbrewery and offer them incentives to get them to open a branch in their town. And y'all know this takes a couple of years to even get close to that. Well, instead, why not start a home brew group? Bring together people who are interested in beer, people who like to brew their own beer at home. Maybe just start simply with an online group on Facebook. Then get them in the same place, maybe a backyard or a garage, and let them share ideas and just talk. Well, you know what's going to happen? They're going to drink a lot of beer, first of all. And I'm betting a brewery will come out of that. You might even know of a microbrewery that started that way. A home brewer decided to make the leap. But this is a little different. Imagine how much more likely they'll be to succeed if they have a group of supportive home brewers to encourage them, to help with connections to suppliers and other brewers who've already made the leap, or to work out problems, or to come volunteer and help staff the microbrewery at the launch. That's the idea-friendly way. Informal, chaotic, with a crowd of people just testing things, connecting openly, and taking small steps. Community happens when people talk to each other. We know that. And people like to talk to each other. They like to talk online and they do like to talk in person. And that builds connections as well. So by connecting more people in more ways, we're building social capital. We're building better connections inside our various groups in our communities, but we're also bridging across our diverse groups to connect them as well. So bringing people from your community together across those divides is the best thing you can do to rebuild the fabric of your community. Now, how can you build connections? Professor Brian Uzi from Northwestern University says his research shows that getting more diverse people involved will get more innovative ideas. Different people know different things. People raised in different families, different cultures, different places will have ideas that are even more different. We'll innovate more, come up with more innovative solutions to our work and the problems our communities face. And Lord, we need more innovative ideas because those 1950 ideas won't serve us any better today than that 1950s playground equipment. This picture is a chamber director on the left, a clown entertainment, and a singing cowboy for an event that happened in Franklin County. Talk about diverse. Well, what connections do you need? Look back at your If Our Town big idea that you wrote down. How could you get people together and actually do it or do something related to it? What's the equivalent of the home brew group that would support your big idea? Go ahead and write that down now. Okay. Let's go to small steps. We start with take small steps because that's where the magic is. What would be the old way to take small steps in traditional organizations? Meet and plan. You would meet and meet and meet, talk everything through a few times over. You would search for other towns that might have done it and look for proof that it would work. You keep meeting, hold some votes, let everyone add to it, let anyone object to any part that might be controversial. You're making the thing bigger and bigger and blander as you water it down. You can't take any action until everything is planned out and nailed down. I'm tired thinking about it. Well, what is the new way to take small steps? The old way's on the left, the new way's on the right. Find the world's tiniest way to test the idea right now. So you move from a model of trying to get proof before you do anything to actually getting proof by doing a test or trial run. Can you test your idea out with an online post, a temporary experiment? Can you do a really small version of it and see what happens? You know, those small steps add up and make your community the kind of place it's going to be next. When we talked about changing the trajectory of your community, science educator Steve Mayer said, significant change will occur with minimal force if applied over an extended period of time. In other words, give people plenty of small steps to do and you will change your community. Of course, you have to go do something. We all make our places every day by how we use them. Sitting down on a bench downtown and enjoying the sunshine helps make a place. Driving through downtown at 35 miles an hour without stopping makes it a different kind of place. And you can do anything small. You could pull weeds, you could paint something, spread art, you could bring the fun, put up googly eyes around town, string some lights, do something in public, read a book, talk to a friend, eat at the picnic table downtown. I heard from a reader who, along with some friends, wanted to promote their community for tourism with a home, family, and tradition theme. Now, a different group was doing promotions focused on new wineries and other features that she didn't feel were a good representation of their town. So we talked a bit, and she was hoping I would tell her she was right and those other people were wrong. Instead, I said to test her ideas online right away. And if you're going to tell me a story and want me to tell you they're right, I'm going to tell you to test it. You start by taking a photo that shows the way you want people to see your town. Maybe dress it up in your favorite graphics program and then post it online. See what people have to say. Encourage others to like and share and pass it around. Then post another one and another one. Keep doing that for a while and see how your approach is going. And the reader said, oh, that sounds good, but my friends are mostly retailers, so we're going to wait a month until after the holiday busy season. Then we'll hold a meeting to talk about your suggestion. Oh, for Christ's sake, not another meeting. And certainly no need to wait a month to try something online. Go test it now. Go right now and take a photo and post it online. Then another and another. See what feedback you get. Pay attention to how people react. See who shares and spreads the word around. Those are your new supporters, and that's gathering your crowd. Keep at it, keep posting, keep spreading the word. Then if you want to get together in person, you'll have some real results to talk about. And by the way, that posting is taking a small step. Now, you don't have a big goal, a really big goal, or if you don't really have an idea that feels compelling, well, start with supporting entrepreneurship. You want to generate more small tries, more tiny businesses, more temporary pop-ups. The more tries, the more successes, the more innovative the ideas, and the more open it is to everyone in town. Tiny, temporary, together. Those are part of the innovative rural business models. We've got a whole bunch of information about them at savior.town in our videos and some articles online. You could even use our pop-up fair mini course to walk you through creating your own pop-up business fair event in just a few weeks. Now, why entrepreneurship? Because more small businesses make your town more prosperous. If you want to see the evidence to back that up, just put your name in the chat box or send me an email at deb@savior.town and I'll share those links with you. Lots of those ideas will fail. In fact, most ideas will fail. Author Clay Shirky says, failure is free, high quality research offering direct evidence of what works and what doesn't. That's one of our most popular quotes we share. By keeping the tests and trials very small and immediate, we can reduce the cost of failure to almost nothing. By working to draw in a lot of people, we can put so many people to work testing so many ideas so quickly. That's cheaply crowdsourcing the future of your communities. And you could even make a Golden Globe and hand it out as an award for the worst idea. Now you want to try all the ideas. You want to move from picking just one idea that you think is most likely to succeed to letting people try them all. You move from voting to testing, from deciding which ones you think will work to learning which ones are working by actually doing them in very small tests. Now, here's one idea that probably wouldn't get picked by formal organizations: a rock hunt. It's a simple idea. You paint small rocks, you hide them around downtown, people get out with their kids and hunt for them. Then when they find them, they post photos online. If they like the rocks they find, they can keep them and then make some new ones and hide those. It's silly fun. It's something you can do social distancing and even wearing a mask. But it's also real community building. We want to be the kind of community where people get out as families and do things together. And maybe that's our flag, our big idea. Or we want to be a community where we'll spend our own time and effort to make a positive, memorable experience happen for other people. Or maybe we want to be the kind of place where we get involved with our families and kids. Bolivar, Missouri tried a rock hunt, and in 7 days, they had 3,000 people join their Facebook group. That's the equivalent of the entire population of Bolivar. The city administrator said in an interview, if you set up 10 different things and said, which of these things you think will spark the community and take off? I don't know if this is the one I would have picked. And that's the point. We don't know which one idea will work. So there's no reason to set up 10 different ideas and vote to try to pick one. Let 10 people test their 10 ideas out. Consensus won't come from voting on what most people want or trying to compromise until the majority of people in the room can reluctantly agree. Think about the meeting room in Pullman, Washington, where they had the dirty sidewalks. If they had voted in that room, the majority would have voted for holding another cleanup day, even though it hadn't worked to create lasting change. Consensus emerged from action, the action peoples were motivated enough to take. The whole group might not go the direction you personally would want or the way that you have always done things. But when you plant your flag, you pick the direction you go. You can clean your own sidewalk. The people who want to do that too will come along with you. It's never going to go back to the way it used to be. You really do have to start from here and move forward one small step at a time. Iowa State University studied 99 small towns for a period of over 20 years. In that time, those towns experienced every kind of change. Some lost a manufacturer, others gained a new business. Some lost a local school, some had big growth in their schools. Some were hit by natural disasters and others were spared. What the researchers concluded was that no matter what happened or didn't happen, the towns that prospered the best were the ones that were open to new ideas and welcomed new people into the decision making. So being open to new ideas requires us to let go of worrying about whether the idea will work. Being open to new ideas means not telling Abby her movie theater idea was going to fail and she shouldn't even try. Instead, try asking her how the group will take small steps, and maybe they'll come up with an approach you wouldn't have. And you know what? That's exactly what Abby and her group did. They created a temporary movie theater in the high school auditorium. The teens picked a kids' movie and invited the grade school students to be the audience. Abby and the teens ran the tickets, the concession, everything else. And for one day, they created a real indoor movie theater experience for those small kids. It was an experience that teens wished they could have had when they were kids. Now's a good idea to write down your small steps. Look at your big idea. How did you gather your crowd? How did you build connections? And what are some small steps you can take? And put those in the chat box, please. 1 or 2 would be just fine. You probably have an idea of what you want for your town, if our town had or if our town was, but how do you know if that idea is any good? Or will anyone else care about it? Will it even work in your town? The idea friendly is to just test it right now, right away. See how many people respond to it. See how well it works. See if you like it. Now put your idea in the chat box again now if you haven't, because in the second half of the workshop, we're going to take your idea and help you to get started. There's a couple more things I want you to think about though. First of all, get out of the room. Over the past 5 years, in both our lifetimes really, we've developed some central principles that help move your big ideas toward reality in an idea-friendly way. And you'll notice that they all use the idea-friendly behaviors. First of all, get out of the meeting room. City Hall or county chambers or the boardroom just feel oppressive. Have you noticed that? The whole formality and weight of the past can make you frown as soon as you step inside. If you're having a meeting about anything to do with downtown, wouldn't it make sense to do that where you can look around and actually see the downtown? Where you stand on the issues depends on where you sit. Where you stand on the issues depends on where you sit. The location affects the conversation. Sitting in the council chambers or a meeting room, you're too far removed from the life and activity you're trying to create. Sitting outside downtown, you get a chance to be part of the scene and to think about the potential for improvements. Second of all, be conspicuous about doing your thing in public. It's one thing to like your idea when you're sitting behind your computer in your house. It's another thing to be doing it out in the real world where people can see you. It shows a larger level of commitment. And it's even better if you're not the only one doing it. Nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. Make people slow down to get a look. Make them curious. Get people to stop and ask what the heck you're doing. Then you have a chance to share a bit about your if our town had big goal and the small but meaningful way they could be a part of it right now. Third, do more tests. No matter what your big goal is, there's a cheap way to do something, at least sort of like it, to generate some attention. So like what? Well, an ice cream parlor. Go buy some ice cream bars and popsicles. Make little stickers for them with your hashtag, like ice cream parlor. Grab a cooler and fill it up with all your frozen goodies. Then go stand at the location where you want the ice cream parlor to be. Offer treats to everyone who passes by. Start conversations. How about better housing? Here's a fun one. Create a cardboard and duct tape mock-up of a house at an event and stand by it to start conversations. Or borrow a model home from a home builder. Put up signs with more information in your hashtag, or bring some friends who can lead tours and start conversations. How about an updated 5-year bridge plan? I see you, Shuttle. Well, hold a driving tour of the district or build a mock-up of your area in a field and just do a walkthrough. Invite everyone from ag, tourism, business, conservation, government, tribes, and even residents. There's a small town in Tennessee that needs to expand their current landfill into land that is currently a park. Now, officials have a couple of possible sites in mind for a new park, but you can just imagine the public is up in arms over the loss of the old park, especially since it's for a landfill. Well, get out of the meeting room and go to one of the possible new locations for a park. Pop up a temporary park in one of those other locations with maybe a pop-up splash pad, or bring outdoor toys and games. Have a picnic there for everyone. Post some drawings of what it could look like if the park moved there. Engage people in conversation about what this park could look like, and importantly, what the consequences are for not expanding the landfill. Then do it again in another one of the other locations. Reach as many people as possible. Streetscapes, downtown improvements. Mock up the potential improvements in the actual downtown. Mark proposed ramps with duct tape. Borrow potted plants to stand in for proposed plantings. Set up real bricks where you want to add bricks. Then let everybody in downtown walk through it. Listen and watch to see how the plans hold up in the real world. What works? What doesn't? Be sure to gather people's ideas and comments. How about new land to develop? Well, don't make a plan first. The right answers are going to emerge from the tests, experiments, temporary projects, and tiny trials. Ask a lot of people what they want to see in your town. Start this public discussion. Tell everyone about your goal. Ask everyone in town what they want to see. School kids, adults, seniors, people in different ethnic or language groups. You could run a contest for ideas, sketchups, mock-ups, even business plans. Start a hashtag online. Let everyone add their photos, ideas, thoughts, and opinions. Your goal isn't just to receive the ideas, but also to get everybody thinking about the park they could play themselves. Now start using the land with temporary events and projects right now. Hold a picnic and talk about what the area could be. Do those pop-up businesses in booths, tents, or trailers. Shoot, hold a dance party. At every event, display some of the drawings and sketches of what it could be like, lots of different versions, and invite people to add to it. You want to build incrementally. After you learn from your pop-ups and temporary fun, add in some temporary structures like sheds, shipping containers, or trailers, and include a variety of sizes with lots of tiny retail space, tiny office spaces, even tiny workshops. Now, should this empty lot be turned into a green space or a farmer's market? Well, try popping up each temporarily on separate weekends and see how it goes. And it's not about gathering the public for a complaint session. No, no, no. It's getting outside of your four walls to involve yourself in the public. Now, the fourth principle for success is to do just a tiny part of an idea, then take small steps from there. So let's see what that would look like with some of the if our town had ideas we've heard. So the big idea could be a community dinner that closes down Main Street. And you know the kind of dinner I mean. I showed you a picture. Shut down the whole Main Street with everyone in town sitting down to eat together. Well, a tiny step would be 2 card tables on the sidewalk and a few friends having a meal together. Clean your own sidewalk is another great example of keeping your town clean by cleaning your own sidewalk. That's a small step. In Harlowtown, Montana, the citywide garage sales started by the junk shop during their slow time. Now they advertise regionally and it's now managed by the chamber. It grew so much and it's been a huge economic impact. And the fifth principle is build the community first. This applies to creating any community building or shared space, like co-working, maker spaces, business startup hubs, community centers, shared retail, shared workshops, shared artist spaces. Do meetups, events, borrow spaces, use empty lots, get people together doing the thing they do in that building. Use equipment you already have and the talents people already have before even spending any money to hire or buy anything. Then when the building opens, you've built the community ready to transfer right into it. Now, if you're already working on a project like this, pause wherever you are in the project and start working on building the community. Now, Becky wanted to start a co-working space in Alva, Oklahoma. She talked to somebody she knew that had done a successful space in a bigger city, and he told her, build the community first. And that was the best advice she never followed. She arranged for a space to use at no charge, but it never caught on because she didn't have enough people besides herself who wanted to use it. Now, those are all 5 success principles that help you make your big idea happen successfully. If there's one that kind of hits you in the gut, one that's going to change how you approach your big goal, make a note of that now. You can share it too if you want to. The time has passed when a few influential people could gather in a room to decide what a city will be. Carol Coletta, a civic expert, had said that. Instead, your town's future is being decided by the actions taken every day by all the people in your town based on what they believe about your town's future and their role in it. Now, I think you might have a few questions and objections, and I'm going to cover them first. Other people are the key to making your idea happen. They can also feel like the biggest obstacle to getting anything done. Let's look at some of the most common people problems and how the idea-friendly behaviors can help you cope with them. Now we'll go this way. So people may not do things you think the way you think they should. If everyone would just do things the way that we tell them how to do it, then everything would be fine, right? I keep saying that, but it's a trap. It's like the local church that has a tradition of serving meals for bereaved families after funerals. One young volunteer showed up to help cook and serve, and she got told off because she was cutting the pickles the wrong way. Now we can laugh about that because we've all seen those picky people who have to have everything just so. But they've forgotten something important. It's not about the pickles. It's about allowing a family to grieve and to receive a gift from their church community. And it's about allowing people in the church community to share those gifts. It's not about perfection. They forgot that community was their goal. Another story, one woman explained her big goal to us this way. She said, I need some people to bring me what I tell them to for my green space that I want to build in this place I picked downtown. Of course, you see the problem. If it's all about you, then there's no reason for anyone else to get involved. If it's all about you, then it cannot be about the community. Control isn't our goal. Even efficiency isn't our goal. Community is our goal. How about the officials say no? That's the second problem people face, is that the idea. And you know what? Asking them for approval, that's a terrible way to try to start any idea. They don't know if it'll work, and they have no incentive to say yes yet. So start smaller in a way that doesn't require permission yet. If you need city approval for food trucks in the street, start smaller. Invite 2 food trucks to park in the parking lot around back where you don't need any approval, and track the results. Were the restaurants still busy? Did the nearby stores see more activity? Did people come and eat? Now you've got some results of your test, and you can take those results to the city council before asking permission to try a bigger version. Remember the clean your own sidewalk story. Entice rather than convince. And if your idea is against the rules, we have a video full of ways to deal with that. But don't tell your officials I said that, okay? The third problem is coordination. Other people are doing the same thing. Small towns have a real problem with having too many organizations in silos. Often they're working on the same things at the same time, but maybe in a completely different way, and maybe in ways that conflict with each other. Well, try coffee and calendars. It's real easy. Invite some people to coffee, people like members of your town council, your chamber, your school board, your county government, any organization related to yours, and ask them to bring their organization's calendars. Now, go somewhere and get some coffee. Get out of the office. Let someone from each group go over their calendar and tell what they have going on. That's it. Just share coffee and calendars. We've found if you don't put any pressure on people, they will naturally start talking about maybe cooperating or doing shared projects or noticing that they have shared goals. So the goal is not to make a combined calendar of all the community events. Do not try to replace the coffee time with an online calendar app. It's about the conversations and connecting people across the different groups. Now, even if you could know everything and decide on the one best way, you can't force everyone to march according to your orders. You wouldn't have any more people available for your streamline project than you do when there's duplication. So why not let them try their way? They might have a better twist on the idea, a new way of doing something, or bring in new partners and people you couldn't reach yourself. The last problem is opposition. The one committee that every small town has, no matter the size, is the committee of negativity. This can be as mild as the grouchy people at the coffee shop complaining about everything that you try, or it can be as awful as the fistfights breaking out at government meetings and death threats sent to people trying to make things better. For all the effort put into creating a shared vision and reaching consensus, there is no town where every single person agrees on everything. It's not possible because towns are made up of human beings. Negative people think they're helping. They're helping you not fail. They're warning you about past failures, bad things that might happen, and they want to help your community, but they just don't have the right tools to do it. You can try small tests to show them how your big idea is already working, but don't spend too much time trying to convince them. Just remember this: you can't lose people who were never yours. And all that means is don't worry about the people who were never, ever going to help you. They're still not going to help you, so you might as well not worry about them. Our pastor friend told us a really smart thing. John said, us versus them is a myth. There is no them because we are all part of us. Small towns are really fluid networks of ever-changing alliances. People may work together with you on one goal, but then oppose you on something else. That's okay, we're human. Every bit of energy you put into fighting the opposition is really hurting your entire community. Put that energy into positive action instead. And if you need more help with this, we have a video on dealing with negativity and opposition. Okay, enough about other people. Let's talk about you a little bit. How are you feeling these days? Busy? A bit overstressed? Well, there's some good news. The idea-friendly method works with what you're already doing, only it's faster. You'll spend less time debating and planning. And if you don't have any committees, then you don't have any committee meetings. Let that one sink in for a minute. One local beautification group found it easy to get people to come to their meetings where they serve refreshments. But when they asked people to show up for another meeting on another date to weed the park, suddenly everyone was busy. They had used up their only available hour meeting, eating cake in a meeting room. Well, they moved the meeting to the park and said, bring your tools. They did their weeding and meeting at the same time. And those who had extra time could go for ice cream afterwards. And that works so much better. Now, another huge time saver is to stop planning the events all the way out. Leave room for other people to create the events along with you. Now, of course, you're going to create the context for the kind of event, what it's going to be like, say, for instance, Summer Arts Festival downtown. Then you'll set broad guidelines like family friendly, no alcohol, but you don't plan out every single detail because the event isn't your goal. Community is your goal. This picture is actually in my town of Webster City, and I was in charge of an event as the chamber director, and I planned maybe a third of it and opened it up and said to the community, what do you want? What do you want? And one lady said, we want some fun races. I'm like, okay, you're in charge. Go make that happen. And this is what they came up with. I can tell you, I would not have come up with this idea. And boy, was it fun. All right, things are different now. Stop doing things you don't need to do anymore. Kill the old events, holdovers, things like we've always done it this way. I know that's hard. You could hand them over to another organization, especially those that don't want it to go away. You know, people used to register really late for events. Think about how that's going to change when you open up the event for others to bring their ideas for things to do. Because not only will they register, they're going to have all their friends come too. You can use social media better, particularly those Facebook events, and give people a chance to let you know they're interested. And you don't have to do all the events. Now is a great time to say to your community, we simply can't put together all of these events this year, and ask them what events they'd like to take over. All righty. You have already started your idea-friendly journey. Your notes you've made today are really idea-friendly notes. You'll have a big idea that will improve the quality of life in your community. You know how to gather your crowd, and you're terrific, I'm sure, at building connections. And now you just have to take some small steps. You are going to create the community you most want to belong to. And if you haven't written down your small steps yet, now is a really good time. And I've written the idea friendly method on screen. So maybe you can take it, note it, take it down or grab a quick screenshot. And if you haven't put your big idea in the chat box, now is the time. Let's share some of your big ideas and maybe even work through the process. Steve, I think it's time for a break. Yep.
All right, Deb, we can definitely do that. Thank you for a great hour. And yeah, please go into the chat room and add a lot of content, because we're going to be feeding off a lot of your feedback over the next hour. But right now, we're going to take a 5-minute break, give you a chance to stretch, do whatever you need to do, check your emails and your voice messages and everything. And at 1:05, we'll get back together again. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this up on the screen for you right now, because that way you can review back on these topics that Deb's got up on the screen right now. And then at 1:05, we'll start our second hour. So type away in the chat room. We'd love to hear from a lot of you, and thank you if you've already put stuff in. We're going to start the second hour at about 1:05.
Do these off-site.
The recording message came over. So I think that Deb, you were asking if we do them at the college or remotely.
Or off-site,
Off-site?
maybe in a business or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. So I just had this conversation literally with an instructor who was teaching a law enforcement class for me this morning. We all of the above. So right now, we are primarily operating in a synchronous online environment, just like we're meeting now. So in fact, our WRP pendant class, we have a kit. We have continuing education Cougar kits, which we send out. So we're sending out kits of materials to people. Like the geocaching class will be a hybrid class because we can do part of it outside. The cooking class is you'll get a kit with certain materials, and then we meet virtually this way. Some of our mandated classes we are holding in person, of course, with all of our COVID precautions still in place. Some are here on the campus, others are out in the community. In a more normal year, I would be out many different places in our community. We partner with some of our local K-12s to utilize some of their space and take things to them. We partner with some of our local service organizations like Opportunity Development Center to rent space from them. So yes, we really do try to be throughout the community, where, meet people where they're at, right?
Absolutely. And that was just one thing I wanted to make sure everybody heard, that anyone can do that. If you have a business, for example, you sell furniture, right? And you have a friend that makes candles. Why can't you have a candle making class after the store is closed and have people come to the furniture store for it? The benefit, of course, is the cross-pollination. which is always important for both things. So as you think of things, everybody, think outside the box. It does not have to be in those meeting rooms or in the same location. I get it. There are sometimes you need to be in a meeting room, but sometimes, a lot of times there's not. Heather, thank you for that answer.
Thank you, Deb. And we like to consider ourselves connectors. So look at those connectors too, right? I mean, so we certainly, you know, if I had someone who approached me who did have a candle making business who said, you know what, I want to do a class, absolutely, let's do it. You know, I know the education end of things, and if we're going to do it remotely, I have that technology end, and I can get you connected to people who are interested in taking the class. So
Would you put your contact information in the chat box? We're talking about building connections. There's a perfect fit. So feel free. I'm sure you wouldn't mind visiting with folks about their ideas, huh?
absolutely, absolutely, I would love to. I mean, so I have to tell you, through the pandemic, we really here at Midstate, it opened up a whole new world for us. So I shared about the event we're really excited about, and that's a free event, by the way, with the American Smithsonian Art Museum and the American Battle Monuments Commission. I have partnerships now with the Royal Botanical Gardens in Canada. I've worked with Reef Headquarters Aquarium in Australia, the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So all of these organizations just really internationally now, as well as our local instructors. I have computer instructors and Spanish instructors and folks who are either local to us in the district or within the state, who really have worked to transition their content to be delivered really in an engaging format online as well. So it's just, yeah, I mean, the connections that we've found throughout this have been pretty amazing.
Awesome. Great sponsorship. Thank you. And that
Thank
was
you,
not
Deb.
planned. I just got excited hearing.
I'm glad.
Is Carol Roth still on by any chance? Can you pop up and take your speaker off if you are?
I'm here. Yes, I am.
Oh boy, are you ready for me?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you said we're going to do an example of an idea-friendly project. And you mentioned that if our small town had better signage,
Mhm.
okay, and you want to use that to allow people to gather in common spaces, support local businesses, and build stronger community. So
Mhm.
what's wrong with the signage now?
There isn't any. I mean, well, there is. Okay, so let me explain to you the community that I'm talking about. It's a very small community, and it was relocated and sort of built. And they built, it's not really a main street, it's a group of businesses. And there's a green space in the middle of all those businesses. And the
Nice.
intent was that people would walk from behind into the green space. There would be gathering. They could go into the businesses from the inside. But what has happened is no one uses the green space. No one gathers there because everybody goes in the back door. Nobody knows where they're supposed to go. And so it just becomes this dead space, and it really eliminates people from, from things happening in that green space. There could be really exciting things happening that benefit all those businesses in that green space, but it just doesn't happen.
The first thought that comes to mind for me is sidewalk sales, but do it a green space sale. Just have an event, do a couple of Saturdays a month, so people have to go to the green space to get the sales.
Oh, that's a great, yeah, okay.
So
That people have to start, what you're saying is so that people have to start using it and really even experience it.
Yes. And then while signage is great, I'm not sure you need signage for this, because for me, the expense in signage is a little much, right? I don't know what your
Right.
budget is, but
it's also for people that come, like for tourists that come, you know what I mean? Because people don't know where things are happening. It just is like,
they know to park behind the stores, right?
yep. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any murals on the walls? Is there a alleyway that people walk through to the green space? How does it look?
It's interesting that you say murals, because we are actually, that's one of the ideas that we came, that is surfaced, and that there's a group of people that are interested in doing some murals to actually make some things more attractive and, that draw their eye and might draw you in without the signage.
That's a good idea. And let's visit. So the big idea, let's say the big idea is put murals up so people can get to the park or to the green space. Mm-hmm. So who are your connections? Who do you need to know to make that happen? Do you need permission from anybody?
Probably from the village. Mm-hmm.
From the village or the
Because
building?
the
owner?
the green space is owned by the village.
Yeah, but the building you're going to put the murals on,
Oh,
is
that
it?
belongs to the businesses, so it would simply just be getting the people, it would just be for the businesses, I would, yeah.
Yeah. So, and find out who knows the business owners pretty well and can begin to have those conversations. You're going to need paint, right? If you're going to paint
Right.
on it,
Yep, yep.
or you could do even smaller and actually paint on a tarp and hang the tarp before you go more permanent by
Sure.
painting on a building. Try something a little
Oh,
less
sure, that
permanent.
would work. Yeah, or some,
And,
yeah, some makeshift
know.
sign, not signage, but just, yeah, okay.
Yeah, even it could be as simple as putting arrows up that say green space on it. Maybe your students, your kids in school could do that for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Involve as many people as you can, and that helps
Mhm.
spread the word too.
And I think, and that's a great, I love the idea of using the kids, because then their parents always want to see what their kids were doing,
And the
everybody.
grandparents,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I'll tell you something else important about involving students, not using, but involving students. When you do a little more permanent thing like painting an actual mural or building a bench or doing something that contributes to the community, 40 years from now, they're still going to be saying, I helped paint that wall.
Mhm.
So you're sinking love for the community into this child.
Okay, yeah, well, we all do that, don't we? We drive by that space and say, I remember when I did that there.
Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you, Carol.
Thanks.
Let me go see who else is chatting up in here. Molly Bradford, are you there? I know you are. You put a comment in.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry.
So thank you for your ideas. Follow me to the green. Join us on the green. Carol, you're going to want to look in the chat box. Yeah, get local artists in on a competition. School district music. Oh my God, people come out for the kids playing music, don't they? So Molly, you had another thing you talked about. I'm trying to find it. It's hard.
I've mostly just been commenting on people's stuff. Oh, so I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm actually beaming in from Montana. And I still visit Wisconsin regularly because my parents have lived in the same house north of Milwaukee since before I was born. And even I've been in Montana 20 years. I have a good Wisconsin accent.
Yes, you do.
And, especially listening to you guys for the last hour. And I was saying that in our town of Missoula, we had some businesses start a gnome hunt, and they it was around Mother's Day, Earth Day, Mother's Day, called Love Your Mother, and there were little gnomes hidden at different trailheads and parks and walking trails in town. And our town has, in Montana, opens up to recreation and wilderness space pretty quickly. And you were encouraged to use a set of hashtags when you found the gnomes, but also you were encouraged to pick up trash and be aware of, just how easy it is to trash the parks and take ownership and agency. And then they got a bunch of local businesses and the Parks and Rec department to get involved. And then you could win prizes from participating.
So was this all planned out before you did anything, or did you just start putting gnomes around?
I actually, it was two private businesses that just started doing it and then said, what if we did this? And then they got a little bit of permission because they didn't want Parks and Rec to throw their gnomes away. And they were saying, this isn't trash. We know how many gnomes they are. We know where we're putting them. We will make sure that the gnomes don't become trash. It was actually something I wasn't involved in, but I own the community events calendar. And so I got involved with it that way.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for being on the call. Definitely. We appreciate that. And I'll be in Montana next week, but not your way. I'm going to be over by Billings and working in that region. And Myrna, who's online now, I'm going to be working with her doing some stuff. And everybody in this call doesn't need to know that, do you? My apologies. I wanted to share another story, though. You made me think about gnomes. I was in Northeast Iowa in Delaware County this past week. And I was riding around with the mayor and a couple other people showing me their community. small town, Earlville, I think was the name of it. And there was one empty lot that they had torn down a house, and it was real messy. And there were 5 trees that the DNR made them take down because they were dying. So you have this messy lot and 5 stumps. And if they were going to remove the stumps, they had somebody that would have brought a tractor in and just pulled it out, but they'd have to rebuild that whole area because it was on a slant. So we were brainstorming, what else could you do? What other fun things could you do? And came up with the idea, let's put gnomes there, invite people to come make gnome homes and just make it really cool looking, clean up the weeds, mow the grass, choose your stump and make it a gnome home. So they're going to jump right on it. And it's because it came out of a conversation. What could we do? What could we do? We got one more new message here. Oh, that's Steve. Thanks, Steve. Hey, Steve. Take yourself off of mute. You ready?
Yes.
Steve and I practiced because I wanted to give you an idea, but I really like this idea because I've seen it done and it works. So Steve, what's your big idea?
Oh boy. Let's see. How about a splash pad?
Sure. Do you know how much those cost?
No, that's why I want somebody else to pay for it.
Well, I can tell you it's $90,000, $100,000. They're pretty expensive. Do you have any idea if it even work in your community?
Well, I would think it'd work because I see a lot of moms and grandmas walking around with children, and they're always looking for things to do, and on those warm days, nothing better than let the kids run around and get wet.
So your big idea is a splash pad. You could gather your crowd. You just mentioned there's some moms and grandmas and some other people, some retirees in town. Who would you have to talk to? Well, let's go right to the small steps. What's something
Okay.
you could do to test the idea out?
Well, as we've heard from other people on this call, a lot of people are using social media, so I'm going to take the easy way out and just say, hey, let's put it on Facebook and see what happens.
That's a great small step. What would you do to see in person, physically, that you could do in your community? I'm going to tell you because you haven't thought of it yet. It's pretty simple. Invite people, if you got a big backyard, or find someone with a big backyard, invite people to come over and try out the splash pad. Tell the adults to bring your lawn chairs and kids in swimming suits. But you're not going to put a splash pad there. You're going to take an old garden hose and put holes in it, and water will just fly everywhere. Maybe you'll fill some balloons with water. I don't know. Maybe you'll have a kiddie pool that kids can stomp around in, or get a sprinkler from the hardware store. But see if it works. See if people will show up.
Yeah,
We're
I like
small
that
towns.
idea a
We
lot.
know everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's your test plot right there.
And as the adults that are there are going to have conversations, there's no force need. It would be pretty easy to just say, so what would happen if we got a real splash pad? And people will begin to talk. And that's how you begin.
Yeah, and the easiest thing to do is just say to the kids, would you like a splash pad? And just let the kids go crazy and turn to their mom and dad and grandpas and grandmas and say, I want a splash pad. And then the
Right.
funding starts.
And then you just begin. Things tend to roll and go. And the more you share your stories, because you're going to get permission to take pictures of kids from the parents, and you're going to take pictures of kids playing in the water and share that and say, hey, this is what a splash pad could look like. And just take it from there. People will show up to help.
One thing I've seen change a lot, we used to have all these committee meetings, and you used to look at charts, and you used to look at artists' renderings and everything. And, after talking with you and seeing you brought on this presentation and what we've heard from some of the other people that were on, it's all about the experience. Give somebody the experience first, give them a taste of it, and then they kind of buy into it quicker than sitting there looking over a 30, 40-page report with just graphs and some drawings.
The Better Block people, Jason Robard from Better Block. If you don't know them, you want to look them up because that's what they do. They show up, they work with communities, and normally they're in larger cities, but they work with block with a small area, and they'll show up with duct tape and they'll make, what do you want it to look like? Oh, you want a bike lane here? Let's draw it in. Oh, you want some live plants on the sidewalk? Oh, you got some in your store? Let's pull it out. And they just start work. People come out of the woodwork and say, well, we'd really like this. Okay, let's draw that out. Let's make that happen. And what you have, if you're tracking your results as good as you can and taking lots of pictures, when it's time to go to the city council and say, hey, we'd like to do this, you have proof in your hand that you can show them it's worked. Look, we did this trial. Could you let us do a trial? And it worked. Here's our results. So as you're doing these small steps and trying things out, you don't have to have permission. 95% of what you do in your community, you don't have to have permission.
Yeah, Mary Ann thought a pop-up splash pad would be a good thing.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Mary Ann, where would you do that? Would you do that downtown? I would.
Absolutely. We have a fabulous green space in my hometown of Pittsville, Wisconsin, the center of the state. The wheels have been turning. I can hook up the hoses from a local business and set a date and time and yeah, turn on the sprinklers.
Yeah, choose a nice hot day. They're coming. I promise they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, truly, maybe it's a splash pad Saturday or something like that. That would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun, wouldn't it? And you know your community, maybe Saturday's not a good day, but maybe Sunday afternoon after people have had lunch after church might be a better time. So that's where putting it out there. What do you think of this day or that day? You can get feedback from your community by just using social media. Okay, let's see. Jeff Tucker, are you still here? Frank says to ask your local fire department to help. I love that idea. Thanks, Frank. Did I lose Jeff Tucker? I told you I pick on people. That's okay. Let's speak with Ellie Soderberg. Are you still here? You have to take yourself off of mute. Oh, look, I can ask you to unmute. Okay, Steve. Who should we talk to? Choose somebody.
Well,
Would you?
I've got a question for you because, you know,
Sure.
budgets are always the big issue when it comes to trying to come up with these ideas because everyone wants to know what it's going to cost. How do you get around that when the first thing you're going to hear out of any of your government officials is that we don't have it in our budget? You're going to have to raise it on your own. It's way too expensive, even though they haven't seen a price tag yet. I mean, how do you get past that and get the emotional buy-in?
So you simply say, oh, we're not at that point yet. We're just testing the idea out to see if it'll work. We don't want to look at money and figure out how to do money until we know the idea is even good, if it'll even work. And then maybe you could ask them to help. You can say to them, who do you know? Who's a contractor or the person you know, because your city council, your government official, you know more people than I do. Who do you know that I should reach out to? So start asking them to be involved and help you. You're not asking them to commit to anything. You're simply asking them to help you find information.
And with all your travels, what are you seeing are like your top three that seems to stick out as far as common issues or goals or projects that people are trying to get through in these small rural communities?
Housing, workforce, and broadband.
Well, we
And
covered that.
Yeah, and they go up and down and around, and you know, we do the survey of rural challenges every other year, and we've just finished our fourth one. The results will be out next month on that, and we'll share them in a video at savior.town. That'll be a free video because we want you to know all about them. Housing, we just, the video this month is housing, and it's only $5 through the 15th. So if that's something you want to take a look at, you can. We talk about we can't solve housing problems. There's too many. There's too many. Every community has a different feel, a different thing going on. So we talked about using Idea Friendly to test out the housing problems and talk more and get people moving. And it's the same kind of thing. So say you need apartment buildings because you could have more workforce if you had a place for them to live. And you have a couple of industrial businesses that would be helpful for that. How would you test that out? How would you try that out? Well, maybe you wouldn't test it out right away, but maybe you would invite people to the park, to an empty green space, to come talk about it. You could draw up on a piece of cardboard and lay it out, just lay it out what it could look like and get people used to the idea of, well, who's done apartment buildings? What other community has done that? We have in here, and a lot of people in town thought they were too expensive to rent, and surprise, they filled up right away because the builder had done his homework and he knew what the rents and what people would pay. It's really getting people out and talking about it. Broadband is reaching, one thing I always tell people, reach your elected officials. Call their offices, speak with a staff member, and over and over and over, everybody's got, if they don't know it's a big issue, they're not going to do anything about it. And the way for them to know is to actually either talk to them or talk to their staff. Actually, the staff is better at tracking phone calls and tracking what people said. And, like if you go to a city council meeting, don't ever go by yourself. Take 6 friends with you. If you want something done, you got to show up in force. If you show up by yourself, you're not that important. You
Yeah.
bring 6 people, you are.
There were a couple things that got brought up in the chat that I thought we could touch on. Carol had a good idea. She brought up coffee and calendars, wondering if you could do it virtually. And then Seth, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you mentioned about pizza and possibilities. Those 2 things I think it would be kind of fun to learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, Seth, are you still here? Because I want to know about pizza and possibilities. That sounds marvelous. I can share, since Seth is not coming forward, our community does pints in politics. It started before the election, and we were trying as a community to get more people registered to vote because it was important. And Pints in Politics isn't run by any particular party. It's just an opportunity to go to a different location every month and have a pint and have a good discussion. And there's some ground rules, like you can't fight, you got to be kind, you got to have real discussions about stuff. And I would imagine Pizza and Possibilities might be similar, where you could choose a topic. So this Friday, we're going to do Pizza and Possibilities. Everybody buys their own pizza, and let's talk about what event we want to do this summer to bring more people to town for tourism. And the other one you mentioned, Steve?
It was coffee and calendars that Carol had brought up.
So I think, Carol, that you could do it virtually. I think it might even be easier virtually for those that have their calendars online already. So you can start sharing in the chat room who's got an online calendar. So at least you can look at each other's calendars, right? Bring in the sponsor here that has the classes. I just talked to her for a long time. Anyway, Heather, bring in Heather if she's in your area, and see if maybe something matches up. So maybe from 4 to 6, they're doing how to make kolaches. And then from 6 to 8, you could piggyback on that and do something else. So the goal of Coffee and Calendars is not to create a huge community calendar, but it's to try to see who's doing what when. I can tell you, the church does something at 2 and another organization does something at 2. Now I have to choose between the 2. How could they work together? Maybe partner up or just change the schedule a little bit. Let's see, here we go. Mike Hobbs says rush week for local clubs, groups, and churches. Rush week, like in college rush week? Yeah, I imagine that's what you mean. Everybody shows up. It'd be kind of fun.
Mike says, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep, okay. Well, I'm glad I got that right because I got rushed too. And then Seth brings up Cedar Corporation does housing studies. We interview the local businesses and ask how the lack of housing impacts the business. And if there was more housing, how would that help? So my next question to you, Seth, you guys are going to a lot of work to do that. Where are you sharing that information? Have you made it available in other places? Hi, Seth.
Hi. We get hired by communities across the state to do a whole bunch of stuff, and one of them is housing studies. So we do roundtables and interview businesses and leaders, et cetera, and ask them those questions. And it goes into a report that's then given to the community, and they then get it out to developers, builders, business leaders, elected officials, et cetera. So it goes out to as many
So
people as possible to promote that community.
do you
to
put
bring
it online? Do you make it accessible online?
Again, it's not our study at the end of the day, it's the local community, but we encourage that, yes, to get it
Okay.
out through their social media, to put it online. A
Because
lot,
as
most developers, they want to see this type of housing study, so that we try to get it out there for that
and
reason.
if you're thinking regionally, you have a better chance of getting developers in if you're going to build 4 houses versus 16 houses,
Mhm.
from that many towns. It's better to partner up. And if you've got those studies, those towns can partner together.
And a good example of that, that's a good point, Deborah. A good example of that is Barron County did a study working with, I think it was West Central Regional Planning. They looked at not just each individual community, but they looked at it a much broader area to see how they could pool resources. You're building an 8-plex here, but the next town over you might build 6, and try to attract one builder to do all of that work.
Yeah, it's good for the builders and it's good for the communities because the one town over, that person that lives there might work in my community. So I mean, it's that cross pollination that's really so important. I agree. All right, let's see. Rush week. You got me thinking rush week. So Marianne, in terms of big issues in rural communities, a friend asked me to add childcare. That's huge. Daycare really is big. You're absolutely right. God bless you. That was a good one. Anyway, so in my neck of the woods, in the 3 counties, in my county and 2 other counties, there's an organization called Building Possibilities. And what they have done, no, that's not right. That's my company. I'll look it up. Anyway, my friend Tiffany is one of the people that works there, and they've put together a fund that helps the individual that wants to do a daycare out of their home, helps them get the education they need because you need to have a certificate. And also, like, do you need a fence around your yard? Do you need some more toys? That will come in and do a full inspection and help with funding. $1,000 goes a long way. And they've managed to work with some other larger companies in town that need employees to help with that funding. So you're bringing new entrepreneurs into the community, and you're also helping with daycare. Building Families is the name of the organization. Anybody else have childcare ideas? Because that's a big one.
Deb, what if we go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about, a lot of people are saying rural communities are aging, and you've got that boomer group that really doesn't want to leave their hometown, but they don't have the transitional living in their hometown. So they're retroing their own homes with ramps and railings and everything that they can do to hopefully stay in their house as long as they can, so they can stay in their home community. Where are we at on that? And what have you been seeing on some of these other communities that you travel to?
Well, some exciting things, both for seniors and for newly graduated from college age groups, is second-story housing downtown. There's a lot of towns that have empty second-story housing, or it's been used for storage or something like that. So we're seeing more and more commitment to rehabbing that. And for seniors, you have to have an elevator. But if you've got the right connections, you work with your state groups, there's money to be had for those things. So take a look at how you can make beautiful loft living right in your downtown so they don't have to drive anywhere.
Mhm.
Because isn't everything downtown or close enough to downtown? And you can now get your groceries delivered, which is wonderful. So that's one thing we've seen. We have seen the like mother-in-law sheds, those kind of things, the extension onto the large house where mom or mother-in-law can move back into that small housing. Accessory development units, ADU is what they're called. So that the big house can be rented then. Another thing we see that helps actually with funding and bringing people to town, how are you using your spare rooms, ancillary dwelling? Thank you. Granny flats, Todd would know. I should know that. How are you using Airbnb in your community? I know some single women that have, a 4-bedroom house, 2-bath, and they're able to offer Airbnb to travelers. And generally, it's people there on business, and you don't have hotels in town. So you can be pretty selective with that and make sure that person has a good rating. And what it does is if you stay, you can create your own hotel motel tax. So if in Iowa, it's under 30 days and you have to pay a certain percentage. And the Airbnb people just build it right in, which is nice. And that helps with other projects in the community.
And I wasn't going to bring up the C word, the COVID word, but I guess we're still living in that right now. These rural communities, how are they approaching it? What kind of successes as far as recovery are you finding with some of the solutions they've been able to get back on their feet again? And are there any tips that anybody that's on this call right now might be able to pick up on?
So there's an old saying, if you've seen one small town, you've seen one small town, because they're all different. And so depending on, there are some places in the country that nobody's wearing masks. There are other places where everybody does. There are some that aren't vaccinated. There are some that are. Personally, I would recommend getting vaccinated so it can help bring more people out and we get over that hump. The funding from the federal government has been insane, just insane. It's like they're throwing lots of money at your state, and it behooves you to be in touch with your state people to find out how you can use some of those monies. We've seen some really good examples of that. The PPP loans are now forgivable. So if your small businesses aren't taking advantage of that, you could share that information. Contact your small business development center, your SBDC, and that, your taxes help pay their salaries. What are they doing to educate the community? What are they doing to share this information with your community? And if you're not having any luck, I always say, go to the guy above him or the girl above him and get somebody in there that really can help your community.
And I don't know if other people want to have any comments on that because we're all facing the same thing and we all want the best for our rural communities. But, I know they think that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train anymore, but still we want to, we want to make sure that people are still being safe and doing common practices that make sense, that makes everybody in the community comfortable.
So I've seen quite a few businesses are experimenting with doing things online, with sales online when we talk retail. So that's a hard shift for quite a few people. But it was going to happen sooner or later, I think, anyway, because that's how people are shopping. And that was before COVID. So some training on how to make that, to get people to pick up the phone. If you have a beautiful couch you want to sell in your store, get a picture of it up on your website, share it all over social media, and your phone number. Call me, we deliver. You can try it with one thing, but try it. If you're going to add a whole online shopping cart business, that's another consideration that takes funding, Are you ready for that? What are some of the small steps you can do? We have a young lady that sells clothing out of her home. She tried business downtown, an empty place downtown, and found they were spending more money than what they had budgeted to do it. So she went back to her home, and all of her sales are online. She uses Facebook Live. She does live fashion shows, puts it up there ahead of time. We're going to do it tonight at 9 o'clock, and you can order right online from her. And she's doing actual fashion shows. Marianne said the American Rescue Funds that are going to municipalities, and you definitely want to be looking at that now. But find ways to engage with people online, and your local people too, not just people outside of your community, but your local people are online too. And if somebody tells you, oh, I bought this at Amazon, don't be afraid to say, well, it's really cool, but why didn't you start local for that? I mean, you don't have to be mean about it, but definitely, if you know you can buy a hammer at the hardware store, why are you buying it at Amazon? Which guy are you making rich? Who needs the money more? Yeah.
Do you feel that the restaurant and the hospitality business is going to make the comeback in these small rural communities that we all hope for?
I certainly hope so. Not all of them will. And we're now at a point where you can look around and see who's still open. We're past that hump where the ones that are going to be open are open now. How have they taken advantage? I know several restaurants that are doing a bang up business with delivery and curbside pickup, because people don't want to be in the restaurant eating, but they do want their food, right? So how can you adapt to that? We're coming up on summer, spring and summer now. So outdoor eating should be at the top of your list if you're a restaurant. Put a couple of bistro tables on the sidewalk in front of your shop, in front of your restaurant. Try it out. And that's something you go to the city council with. And you can say, we want to try this out for 3 months to see if it'll work. You don't want to do it permanently unless it works, but you got to know if it works or not, right? So go as a group, not just one restaurant, but maybe there's 4 in that 2-block area. All 4 of you go to the city council and show them how it would look. This is where we'd put it. This is how it would look.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the big picture for idea-friendly towns, because of COVID and the shutdowns and everything that people are going through, is the idea-friendly town harder now? Is it easier? Is it no big difference? Where do you see everybody kind of shaking out when it comes to being an idea-friendly town after what we've experienced for the past year and a half?
So people they're ready for change. They're seeing change around them. So I think if your community is one that likes to get involved in things, you're going to be just fine. Are you open to new ideas? Yes. We're rural people. We're resilient. We have gone through, maybe not COVID, but we've gone through worse things. So if you've survived so far, you probably really are going to continue to survive. I just want to talk to Angie here a minute about workforce, true issue for our hospitality restaurants closing because they can't get employees. Where did those employees go before COVID? What happened to them? Where are they now?
They're still here, I believe. I believe a lot of them are still maybe either on assistant programs or something in that nature that are not coming back. And so we here have found that to be true when we're talking to our business owners. And it's unfortunate because they are going gangbusters, but they can't do it because of not having the workforce. They could be going gangbusters is what I'm saying.
Got it. I know that in my state, Iowa, the governor just said no more $300 extra on unemployment. They've cut that out, and I think we'll see more of that. That should help. Maybe restaurants need to take a look at what they're paying. And it's not always about money. It could be about other benefits, access to insurance, or flexibility, or other things that are real true benefits. And that might be something they could take a look at. And does everybody have to be 18 years old to work in a restaurant. I don't want you to hire young people, but what
Right.
I'm thinking is instead of working 4 8-hour shifts a week, can you divide those up and have, the mom whose kids are now in school and she doesn't have anything to do from 10 to 3? Could she cover a shift? Start looking at other places where shifts could be covered.
Right. No, I
And
agree. And I think a big thing too is in regards to just the culture shift and how our kids now are in a lot of sports and activities and things in that nature, that generally speaking, these restaurants and hospitality places always had our 15 to 18-year-olds working in those, especially during the summer. But now with that big shift, we don't have that. And of course, population drop. But yeah, you really have to be creative. That's for sure.
yeah, and you might have to take a look at what your hours are. Um, I think of retail, workforce for retail more than hospitality or restaurants. Um, the days of shopping people work. How are they shopping after work? They're
Right.
not. So how are you addressing that need? Shift your hours from 11 to 7, or be online more, or make yourself more available for special event shopping, that kind of thing. But we're not seeing enough succession plans in those businesses run by 60, 65-year-olds. And there's a lot of us. That's that baby boomer thing. And they don't have succession plans in place. For those that are in their 40s that own a business, now's the time to look at what is my succession plan when I want to retire in however many years. And SBDC does a really good job with that too. They've got some information, and I would imagine your community colleges might have that too. Kyle shared, if cities or nonprofits are looking at rebuilding capacity to alleviate, they can check out AmeriCorps Vista, and he put the link in there. Those AmeriCorps Vista people work harder than just about anybody I know. They do a great job, and that's a good fill for employment as well. So thanks for sharing that. I'm a fan of Vista, AmeriCorps particularly. Tent rental companies can assist with the outside seating for restaurants. Yes, Maggie, that would be great. Indeed.
Well, Deb, we're getting close to the witching hour, but if you got anything you'd like to wrap up, I think we had some great content this second hour from a lot of different people, and just let you know, Kyle, I'll put the link on the website too for the Vista Core or the Vista Group, and that'll be available for people to go on the Road to Rural Recovery page, and they can get the direct link there as well. So we'll add that today, so you can get that on the Road to Rural Recovery page at the Rural Partners website.
Awesome. That's great. So thank you, first of all, to everybody for being here. You took time out of your day to spend 2 hours with us, and I can't tell you how happy I am about that. Thank you. And our website is saveyour.town, SAVEYOUR.town. We will put you on, we do a newsletter every week. And what we focus on are challenges in rural communities. So because you've told us in our survey what your challenges are, we can address answers to that. So we'll get you on our mailing list as well. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, deb@saveyour.town. And thank you, Lisa.
Thanks a lot, Deb. And we'll actually, for all of you that have registered for the summit, we will be getting that information to Deb so she can get you on the mailing list. So thank you, Deb, again for all your information today. Look forward to having you back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
So that'll be great. Want to say a big thank you to our partners that, or I should say our sponsors for our summit. Without their support, this would be awful tough to do. Marshfield Clinic Health System, Midstate Technical College, also Wisconsin SMP, and WEC Energy Group. Our silver sponsors include League of Wisconsin Municipalities, the CRA Network Wisconsin, which is a branch of the Wisconsin Economic Development Association, Southwest ITBEC. Our bronze sponsors Partners, GWB Professional Services, WCCU Credit Union, and the Association of Wisconsin Regional Planning Commissions, and also the All of Us Research Program, which is under the tutelage of the Marshfield Clinic Health System. These are businesses and organizations that would have had a booth at our conference or at our summit, but we want to put them in our Get Connected, and you can see their links and logos on our website as well, and make sure that you reach out to them. Wisconsin Concrete Pipe Association, Serve Wisconsin, Alliant Energy, Renew Wisconsin, the National Farm Medicine Center, Arts Wisconsin, excuse me, UW Extension, and also Save Your Town. We want your input. We will be sending out a survey. The survey for week 1 is still live until tomorrow, so please fill that out. It's only 4 questions. You'll be receiving a survey for today's session, probably late today or early morning, and you'll have plenty of time to fill that out. Again, very short, only takes a couple of minutes, but your input is really important to us because we use your input to tell us not only the job we're doing with our summit, but also help us on some of the topics we may be looking at in the future, whether it's a fall summit that we're looking at doing, or we want to put it into our itinerary for next year's summit that we hopefully will have in person in Marshfield in 2022. Also, consider being a partner. And as I said, partnerships go both ways. So not only will you be help supporting Wisconsin rural partners through our efforts across the state of Wisconsin, but we also are here to help you grow your organization and your business as well. So please contact us, or we'll contact you if you want more information about the partnerships. And you can also find out information on our website at wiruralpartners.org. We also are having 2 lucky winners that are going to win autographed books, thanks to Dan Smith, who's with the Cooperative Network, has got a new book called Ancestral that'll be coming up in June. It's a great read and a lot of graphics showcasing experiences and pictures around the state of Wisconsin. And 2 lucky winners will be announced at our 5th and final session on June 2nd. And one reminder too, this really dovetails nicely into what we have already been talking about, an upcoming event that we'd like to help promote, and that is housing and hospitals in rural Wisconsin. It's put on by RWHC, Community Economic Development. RWHC is one of our partners. It'll be happening on Tuesday, May 25th. It'll run from 9 to 11 o'clock, and the admission is absolutely free. So you can check that out, and we will have the link on the website that you can register as well. And it'll have you the details of the presenters. Steve Deller, who was with us last week on our session, will be one of the presenters along with 3 others. And the description of the programming will also be available as well. Previewing what's coming up next week. This is a hot one. We talked about broadband today and last week, and it's going to be our subject next Wednesday, May 19th from noon to 2. And it's broadband in your backyard. Let's make it happen. This isn't just talking about things. This is actually rolling up your sleeves and getting it done. We'll hear success stories from all over the state of Wisconsin and where broadband is currently in the state. We'll also hear data and mapping information from PSC and also from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. You'll also be hearing directly from 2 local internet providers and how you can work with them to upgrade your broadband and do it as quickly and economically as possible. And then we'll also hear about all the different funding sources you may be able to take advantage of and how to write that successful application as well. So that is next Wednesday on May 19th from noon to 2. And if you've got friends that still haven't registered for our summit, you can register week by week and just go to our website and you can register. It's $15 a session. And I know we're going to have a pack house next Wednesday, but all next 3 sessions are just like the first 2, with very well attended. And we hope that you join us again, and we hope that you can get some friends and fellow colleagues to join us as well. Again, thanks to Deb Brown for a great presentation today. Thank you for taking 2 hours out of your busy schedule to being with us. And thank you for attending and supporting our rural efforts. And hope you all have a great day. And hopefully we'll see all of you a week from today. Thanks.